is the hubbub that happens just before we start. It is not by chance that you arrived here today. Something in you has been seeking. A place where questions are welcome, where courage is nurtured, where love is practiced not only in words, but in the choices that we make together. Inside each of us is a longing to belong, to be seen, and to be part of something much larger than ourselves. So we gather here today, seeking beloved community, a people who do not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibility, and a heart home where we nourish our spirits and share our gifts. So welcome home. Welcome to worship. Welcome, everyone. My name is the Reverend Samaya Oakley, and my pronouns are she and her. Whether this is your first time with us or you've been part of this community for many years, know that you are welcome here and that I am so glad you are here. Your presence matters. Here, belonging isn't claimed, it's practiced together through relationship and care. Today, we gather on the traditional lands of the Niitsitapi people, the Siksika, the Piikani, and the Kainai First Nations, the Iahota Nakota First Nations, including the Chiniki, the Bearspaw, and the Goodstoney Nations, and the Tsuut'ina Nation. This land is also the homeland of the Métis at Timsawak, Districts 5 and 6. Acknowledging this land reminds us that we live in relationships. We live in relationships with the land, with those who have cared for it across generations, and with one another. Our choices ripple outward, and even the smallest of movements matter. Just as our ancestors, children, and future generations watch us, the integrity of what we do in the spaces between our words, our care, our courage, shapes the world that we are building together. So as we begin, I invite you to bring the stories that you carry, the hopes, the questions, the quiet things on your heart. Together, we will reflect on how our choices shape the world around us, and how even small acts of courage and care can make a difference for those who are watching and learning from the way we live today. So let us begin.
Our opening hymn is 1010, and the words are up on here if you want. It's in the teal hymnal if you want the music, but otherwise, I invite you to rise and body your spirit and welcome us in today. Oh, I can read it back. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks precious day.
Is it good to go? Yeah. My name is Janet Brooke. My pronouns are she, her. I am happy to be here this morning, a bit nervous to be speaking. What drew me to attending services, I attended a course called Death in Life, and Reverend Samaya and my classmates really inspired me. There was an authentic sharing, respect. I was really moved by how inclusive each person in the class are, and that drew me to come to the services. It was a really inspiring group of people. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light of truth and the warmth of love at the heart of our faith. In a world that often asks us to choose between silence and courage, between comfort and justice, between preserving what is and correcting what must change, may this flame remind us that even the smallest light can guide us through the in-between places. May it kindle within us the courage to speak with honesty, to act with compassion, and to widen the circle of dignity and belonging. For the choices we make, the words we speak, the love we show, become the light by which others learn to see.
I am Rachel today, by the way. We have a number of illnesses that have taken people in the congregation out. Ned, who was supposed to be our song leader today, and Rachel, who is our director of religious education here. So I get to tell you a story, one of my favorite things. But before I even start that, in true Rachel style, there have to be a couple of jokes. And I'm a part of the Activating the Canadian Unitarian Universalist ecosystem that is working across Canada to stimulate experiments and all kinds of things across the country. And we're meeting this afternoon, and we all have to bring moose jokes. So you get a couple of moose jokes. Why did the moose sit at the back of the Unitarian Universalist Church? Why? It didn't want to branch out too far from its comfort zone. I know, right? Right? A moose shows up at a UU potluck and someone asks, "What brought you here?" And the moose says, Brett's croissants. If you come to community dinner on Thursday and Brett's there, he brings croissants, I will say. That would do it. That would do it for any moose. But the moose said, "I just follow the scent of curiosity and apparently hummus." So here is my story for you. The story takes place at a time that is neither here nor there. It does take place at the end of winter, where this quiet village was preparing for its annual spring lantern festival. Each household had a lantern. Now, some lanterns were big and bright, and others were very small and delicate. Take a moment, think about what your lantern looks like. But one thing they all had in common was they all had the potential to shine. So I'm going to invite you to light your internal lantern by bringing your hands to your heart and holding a lantern there. Now, each lantern had a choice. It could stay inside, safe from the cold and the wind and the lingering snow like it was on Thursday when we had to cancel a bunch of stuff, or to be carried outside, helping others see the light and the first signs of spring. Now, one lantern whispered, "What if the wind blows me out? What happens to your lantern if you think about that? What if somebody bumps into me?" So I invite you to hold your lantern as if you're protecting it, keeping it from the winds, and a little bit fearful. And another lantern said, "I want to shine. I want to show the way and help other people." And so when we do that, we lift our lantern high. Now, this brave little lantern stepped outside, and their glow in the streets was amazing. Neighbors smiled, children laughed, and the village felt warmer just because of that one lantern. And winter started to loosen its grip. So now the lanterns are swinging in the wind. And you know what? Everywhere, little eyes were watching. Take a look around. You can see all of the eyes. Here. The lanterns that stayed inside stayed safe. But the world missed the light that they could have shared. Sometimes it's like that in life. We are like those lanterns. There are parts of ourselves that we keep hidden, tucked away, safe. And we also have a choice to move into the world and to let our light shine, even as spring begins to push through, bringing new growth, new possibilities. So let's lift our lights, our lanterns. And even when nobody says anything, people are always watching. Our siblings, our friends, our neighbors, the ancestors, the children, the generations coming ahead. They notice how we act, how we treat each other, and how we stand up when things seem to be unfair. So we have a choice to decide between each one of us to decide what kind of lantern we want to be. One that stays inside, and sometimes it's appropriate to stay inside, or one that shines. Shines for others and lights the way for a new season. Each time we choose courage, kindness, and care, we're lighting the world just a little brighter. And sometimes that light inspires others to let their light shine. Little eyes are always watching us, learning and growing with us. So as we sing the children downstairs, and for those of you who are new and have children with us, we invite you to go downstairs, and there's a children's program for you down there. Make yourself known to Elliot, who is our religious education assistant downstairs, and we will sing the children out now, and we will send them off with our light.
We hold you in our hearts as you go, as you go. As you go. Turn up. Of your precious life. We hold you in our hearts as you go. Okay, I'm a retired teacher, and when I started out, I was substituting. That was like not having the lesson plan left to sing. Okay, my name's Susan Ridley, she, and her, and I just have to ask you this question. Where in Calgary can I experience my three biggest passions in the world? Music, social activism, and phenomenal food, all in one place without breaking the bank, and an awesome spiritual home. For me, right here at Calgary Unitarians, and I know others' passions are met here as well. I've been a member of Calgary Unitarians for 27 years. My mom died 2 months after my second child's birth in 1997, and a year later, I realized that I wanted a church experience for my kids and I, but not Anglican, as I was raised. Having had 3 experiences with Unitarians in Ontario and one here in the 1980s via some friends, once here, I realized this was my spiritual home. One of the Ontario experiences was the total fluke of having my mom's memorial led by a completely unknown UU minister who was just what my family of divergent thinkers needed. In the 80s, the service was about the spirituality and history of church music, exactly up my alley. Since then, we've had a number of these kinds of services, or the music has been incorporated into them, from the likes of Paul Simon, Ani DeFranco, and James Keelahan, a service led by me. Besides meeting and becoming friends with great people, loving the music, and sharing absolutely delicious meals with them, I have also loved these aspects of Calgary Unitarians. 1, the non-creedal take a look at other religions for guidance, either faiths, if desired, and build your own theology. 2, there is no one way to think about the unifying power in the universe beyond we mere mortals. Call it God or whatever works for each of us is just fine. Our church, having been one of the 3 founding congregations of the Calgary Alliance for the Common Good that advocates for many social justice causes. There's a table in the Barker Room. The commitment to activism of most UUs as they are willing and able. For all of these reasons and more, I support this church, and I would encourage you all to do so as your personal situations allow. Thank you very much.
Okay. In a moment, the ushers will pass the baskets. In our tradition, we sometimes say that the offering is the sacrament of the free church. By that, we mean it is a blessing to be able to sustain and govern our religious community ourselves, to make possible through our generosity the ministries, programs, and dreams that help us live out our shared values. Each week, as the plate is passed among us, it becomes a quiet testament to that generosity. It is our harvest, gathered together for the work that nourishes our spirits and strengthens our community. This month, our For Others offering goes to Knit Choices Family Support Society, supporting Indigenous families across Calgary. I'm going to digress for a moment. I have Indigenous family, and something that deeply moves me in with everyone here is the inclusivity for Indigenous people. And I really deeply, deeply appreciate that. Their work reminds us that communities grow stronger when care is shared, when we journey alongside one another, nurturing spaces where children and families can thrive, feel supported, and be celebrated. Every gift we give today helps build that circle of care and belonging. As we give, let us remember that our actions, big and small, are noticed by those around us, by the children who watch how we show up, and by the generations who will follow. Even before our words are spoken in a sermon, our choices reflect the values we hold dear and the world we hope to build. If you would like your gift to go to 4 others, please note that on the memo line of your envelope or e-transfer. If you are visiting with us today, know that your presence here is gift enough. After the basket is passed, you are invited to come forward and light a candle at one of our side sconces, or place a pebble in our water communion bowl in honor of a joy or sorrow you carry in your heart. The morning offering will now be gratefully received.
It is in sharing our joys and our sorrows together that we practice what it means to be a community whose hearts remain open. This ritual reminds us that not one of our stories, not one of our hearts, not any of the things that we carry on our hearts, whether they're spoken or unspoken, is alone. you are in community. You are held by each other through this ritual. When we name what we carry, we resist the instinct to close off, and we choose connection. So let us lift up this morning those whose hearts are filled with joy. Friendships formed when sharing meals at a Ramadan iftar. Celebration of Pi Day across the continent. Moments that we remind our 2S LGBTQIA+ community that they are not alone. The beautiful music that was played on Friday night at Matthew's recital. Don't worry, if you missed it, there's one coming up on April 11th. Watch for details. The joy of seeing new people return to the congregation that we haven't seen in a while. And from our Joys and Sorrows book, so blessed to be welcomed so lovingly here at Calgary Unitarians. Glitter, sequins, and all that encouraged me to show up as my authentic self. And how can we forget the entire cast and crew of The Cock and the Girl Who Forgot? What a joy that was. Let us also, I like this candle for you. See, I got so excited, carried away. We also light a candle for those who are carrying heartbreak, heavy things on their heart. This week we light one and we surround Brandis and Diana, 2 members of our community who have lost family members. You can assign cards for them after the service in Barker Room. We hold in our hearts those that we know those who we know in our own lives who are experiencing oppression, whether it be a result of racism, transphobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia. It's on my mind. It was mentioned last night at the iftar dinner that it's affecting people here in Calgary. And you know those people. And we light this candle for them. And we light a final candle. A candle in observance of the United Nations International Day to Combat Islamophobia. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has spoken clearly about the rise of anti-Muslim hatred and bigotry around the world, reminding us that such prejudice threatens not only Muslims, but the rights and the freedoms of all people. Combating this hatred calls for action from governments, from institutions, and from us to protect religious freedom, challenge harmful speech, and stand against bigotry whenever we encounter it. This is our time together, our time to breathe together, to be together in community. After some contemplative words, we'll sit in silence for about 2 minutes and come out of silence with our song, Please Prepare Me. The words will be projected. You will not find it in one of our hymnals. Susan will be leading us. If you like, you can join Susan in singing the song. I think she would appreciate it. And I also want to name that if you are in a tender place after your time of silence and need the music to wash over you, please take that invitation and do what you need to do. For now, Let's take a moment. Settle into your body. Feel your feet on the floor, your hands resting comfortably, your spine supported. Notice your breath as it moves in and out. This morning we have named joys and sorrows, and now in this quiet space, we pause not to solve anything, but to practice. Practicing stillness is like exercising a muscle. Here, in this space of awareness, we prepare ourselves. We strengthen our muscles for discernment, learning to notice more clearly, to listen deeply, to feel compassion fully, and to ask, what does right action ask of us? These moments are small, and they matter. Each pause strengthens our ability to act in the in-between, the subtle moments where choices carry weight, where words and deeds ripple farther than we realize, and where the world may quietly watch. Think of those in-between moments in your life. The casual comment at coffee hour, the glance that holds the question, the situation where it's easier to stay silent. Those are the moments where courage and care are needed most. Our meditations prepare us for those moments, building the clarity, patience, and moral muscle to be able to respond with integrity, love, and awareness. So in these next 2 minutes, let your hearts rest in the knowledge that this practice serves you, giving strength for the ordinary, quiet, and surprising moments that shape our lives and the lives of others. Let us enter the reverent space of silence.
for you. Please prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. To be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Thank you.
One of the things I love about this congregation is how we embrace imperfection. And we go with the flow, and we do it well. Thank you, Susan, for coming in at the last moment. You know, looking back, I think I did my best parenting before I had my daughter. Seriously, it's true. I drive by people's homes where toys had been left out overnight and say to myself, oh, well, one, I'm a parent. I'm going to have it together enough to make sure that the toys are put away every night. I mean, how hard can it be, really? I was really, really unprepared for many of the challenges and the joys that parenting brings forward. Most of all, I was unprepared for how those little inquiring minds can catch you off guard at the most inopportune moments. You know, those moments when Grandma's in the back of the car and all of a sudden out pops up, hey, Mommy, what's a homosexual? Standing in front of Patty and their parent, and out pops, Mom, why can't Patty tie their shoes yet? And in the grocery store lineup, in a nice big voice so everybody can hear, because that was my daughter, Mom, what's a condom? I found over time that those one-on-one interactions, mostly directed by the children, could become relatively easy to handle. Well, easier than when the people around me or the situation around me demanded action and made it far more complicated. Because with children, there's a certain clarity, right? They're learning, they're watching, they're asking, and you know that your response guides them. With adults, the stakes feel somewhat different. Their opinions, the histories, the unseen tensions, they hover in the air around us, waiting for you to choose whether to engage or to retreat. You find yourself either here at coffee hour or at a dinner party, for example. Somebody makes a comment, casual, offhand, tinged with judgment and prejudice. And there you are, unsure. Do you respond? Do you challenge? Do you find yourself moving back, weighing the risk of conflict? Or staying silent? And what that feels like inside your body when you make those choices. It's in those moments that our polarized world becomes very tangible. Alberta's recent referendum and the conversations that it has stirred in communities across the province make the choices even more tinged and charged. One person's simple opinion is another person's moral flashpoint. The air feels heavy with disagreement. And we find ourselves in those in-between spaces. And yet, those are the spaces that call for that moral discernment, for faithful presence. The question becomes, how do we commit boldly when every choice carries weight, when the answers are anything but simple, when our actions or silence ripple beyond what we can see? So it was a sunny Saturday afternoon. The girls had just finished playing soccer. They were about 8 or 9 years old, and some of the parents and I decided to take them to Subway. It was a tradition after soccer. So I had 4 girls with me, and you know what it's like, a car full of 4 girls after a soccer game? I mean, the energy was like vibrating. So we like spill over into the Subway store, and we're in line. Their energy overtook the entire restaurant, and they're chatting, and they're giggling, and they're boisterous. And we're waiting in line for our turn. The person in front of us, not so happy with our presence, obviously impatient, getting irritated, clearly getting irritated. And they turned towards me and started to grumble. In a loud voice, loud for everybody in the room, in the restaurant to hear, they made a comment that was derogatory and racist towards the servers, expecting me to agree with them. All I remember are those 8 eyes staring up at me, wide, expectant, searching. They seemed to ask silently, "What side are you going to take here?" And I knew in that instant that if I stayed silent, if I let this pass without a word, I would be allowing a cycle of harm to continue, in silently teaching these girls that such behavior could be accepted. The choice before me also held another possibility, the chance to bring light, to bring life, and to bring love into that moment, to show them what courage, integrity, and care look like in the real world. It's like that in life, though, isn't it? At each and every moment, we have choices available to us to rise up, to face injustice when it occurs. Nelson Mandela tells us that if we are neutral in situations of injustice, we have chosen the side of the oppressor. Reverend William Jones, one of our very first Black humanist Unitarian ministers, I had a chance to meet him. Ooh, fandom here. He put it a little differently. And he tells us that we have a choice to conserve and preserve systemic oppression, or we can correct it. And he even made it work for us UUs. You know how we often say, we're Unitarian Universalists for the kids? Well, this U here is an example of how we get stuck. With every choice, he says, we either conserve or preserve, or we correct. But to get stuck in the middle is also making a choice to conserve and preserve. And those 8 eyes, they're staring up at me, wondering what side I was going to come down on. I turned inward at that moment, listening for that still strong voice within me, searching within for an answer. And the insidiousness of injustice and systemic oppression works its way into our very being like a poison, and it poisons the fabric of who we are. Each time we hesitate, each time we withdraw and choose not to say something in the face of injustice, the spirit of life within dims just a little more. And I think we lose a little bit of who we are. Internally, we die a little. It isn't until we are committed to working towards righting injustice in each and every moment that that spirit of life within us begins to shine, just a little bit brighter, and it begins to dance its way into aliveness. The poison drains away from our bodies. And those 8 eyes, they're staring back at me, and I realize that my response would either brighten that spark of life within them, or it might even dampen it. And I wondered how safe they would feel if I was not able to stand up for injustice in that moment. I had to ask myself the question, how much life am I bringing into their hearts in this moment? Time seemed to stretch. You know how it does in those moments? It became elastic, and all these thoughts are like boinging around in my head. I'm sure some of you know what that's like. And I was relatively new to Unitarian Universalism at that point. Barely 4 years had passed since I became a member. I was learning about who we were and what action we took. And I was also beginning to get involved in the wider denomination at that point, becoming a trainer in youth programs as well as the Our Whole Lives, that's our sexuality education program. Much of what was termed as anti-racism, anti-oppression work in those days was and continues to be a focus on justice, equity, and fairness issues. I was hearing stories for the very first time about how our Unitarian and Universalist forebears responded to injustice. I thought of Reverend Theodore Parker, who was known to write his sermons with a shotgun cocked at his desk because he had runaway slaves in his home hiding from the authorities. I also remember the moments in our Unitarian Universalist tradition when people answered the call for justice. Congregations, ministers, and lay people have lent their voices and their bodies in the struggle for equity, in the civil rights movement, Black Lives Matter movement, the truth and reconciliation work that we have engaged in across Canada. As well, we've also embraced initiatives like the Widening the Circle program, seeking to confront racism and oppression to build a more inclusive, equitable community. Those efforts remind us that our faith asks us to be present in the struggle for justice, to act boldly even when work is difficult, and to join in covenant with one another to widen that circle of love and belonging. History and present-day actions both call us to act, knowing that moral courage can ripple out far beyond what we see, shaping the world for those who come after us. And those 8 eyes, they're looking at me, wondering, and they're searching. They're silently asking for guidance. And over time, I began to see that the principles at work, the willingness to confront injustice, to speak truth to power, and to act with courage even when the answers aren't simple, are universal. Here in Alberta, these choices feel especially urgent right now. The debates are polarized, and passions are running high. And everyday conversations, those at coffee hour, in the grocery store lineup, among friends and neighbors, can leave us feeling unsure about how to respond. Yet even in those moments, the same questions remain. How do we act with integrity? How do we support equity, inclusion, and the dignity of all, even when the politics of the day are messy and divisive? Those 8 eyes, I realized, were not just asking me about that moment happening right there in the Subway store. They were asking about every choice that we make. They were asking how we show up for injustice in our own communities, in our own time, when answers are not simple. Over time, I moved from thinking that we don't have issues of racism in Canada. No, we don't. To realizing that we do actually have our own challenges to confront, and we're actually a little more subtle, which makes us a little more dangerous. My daughter grew up in a neighborhood and a school very different from my own. I grew up in Saskatoon, pretty white bread community. My daughter grew up in North Vancouver, and she had a wide plethora of diversity of friends. The whitest place she ever went to was our churches. You see, prejudices and stereotypes remain prevalent. Systemic oppression is very real in our own city. In Calgary, Indigenous people, trans people, racialized communities continue to face barriers in income, housing, education, and employment. Health and social outcomes like rates of infant mortality, incarceration, access to services reflect persistent inequities that affect your neighbors, my friends, our community, every single day. And those 8 eyes, they're looking at me wondering, what are you going to do? And I realized that this was not a response just for those 4 girls. It was for everybody in the restaurant. It was for the servers. We were all engaged in this dance of life in that moment as those girls were staring at me, waiting to see how I would respond. And there's so many that have come before us who have stood up to injustice. And dare I tell them with my response that their sacrifice, their effort, their passion was not worth it? And what of those who came after us? The generation of children who were growing up. I was keenly aware of how I responded would form a part of how they viewed the world. And what message did I want them to take away? And I have to admit, if I'm entirely honest with you, that there was a part of me that was angry. It was furious. Angry that people still make comments like that. Angry that people still make choices to diminish the light of others. And I also remembered that many Unitarian Universalists throughout history have answered that call to rise up against injustice. They too felt and feel the anger at the world's wrongs, and they found a way to channel that anger into constructive, peaceful action, into courage, moral clarity, and love in action. So I turned, you're waiting, right? I turned and I looked that person square in the eye. And in that voice that is isn't this my nice wallpaper voice, said, while everyone's entitled to their own opinion, I believe that each and every person deserves to be treated with respect and kindness. Your comment displays none of that. And I would ask you to keep those comments to yourself. The staff are hard at work, and soon they're going to be making your lunch. The sky did not open up and shine this, hallelujah, light on me. I did not experience a state of nirvana. The angels did not come down. And I doubt that anybody in that restaurant remembers that conversation today. What matters is that I took one small action to correct injustice. Those 8 eyes looked at me and I felt at peace, knowing that in that moment, the spirit of life that is central to creation shone just a little brighter. That, in the end, is what truly matters. Amen. Namaste. Blessed be. May it ever be so.
From what are we? Where are we going?
We leave this gathered community, but we do not leave behind our connection, our care, our commitment to one another. The work of love and justice do not end here. It continues in the moments that we choose to act with integrity, in the spaces in between, where courage and compassion meet. May we carry the light of this community out into the world, aware that our actions have an impact. Until we gather again, friends, be strong, be present, be discerning, be loving, and be bold in the ways that bring light and life and care into the world.
First, thank you for inviting me to do this. And Susan, thank you for being so supportive. You're just amazing. And thank you for your beautiful music. Okay, as we extinguish this flame, let us carry its light into the world. May we leave here mindful that our choices matter, even when the answers aren't simple. With every word, every action, every moment, may we choose whether to conserve and preserve or to correct. May our presence be faithful, our hearts open, and our courage steady. Let us remember the eyes that watch us, children, neighbors, friends, and the generations who follow. And may we commit boldly, bringing more light, more life, and more love into every in-between space we inhabit. As Reverend Samaya extinguishes our chalice, you are invited to reach out to grasp a spark of its light, to place on your heart, to hold until we meet again. As you go through your week, may that spark remind you that the love, care, and courage we share are never ours alone. Even small acts ripple outward, sustaining one another, strengthening our congregation, and shaping the world around us. The chalice is extinguished, but its flame lives on in us. I'll carry on? Okay. There is so much happening in the life of Calgary Unitarians these days, from our stewardship campaign and service auction to dinner fests and our new series, Dismantling Racism Within Ourselves. Please take a moment to check the announcements in your order of service to stay connected. Thank you for being here today. Whether you're visiting, returning, or new to our community, your presence matters. You help create a place where everyone has a home to belong, learn, reflect, and act with care and courage. For those joining us online, the AV team has shared a link to connect with one another. And before you head off, we want to wave, hello, we see you, and we're glad you're here. For those here in person, head over to Wickenden. Just step out of the sanctuary and you'll find coffee, tea, and refreshments. On your way there, you'll find 2 tables that you'll want to visit either before or after you filled your cup. A table to sign cards for Brandis and Diana, and another table where you'll find Andrea and Susan letting you know how you can help with the affordable housing strategy through the Calgary Alliance and the Common Good. As you go into your week, carry the energy of this morning with you. Every act of care, every word, every choice matters. Remember the 8 eyes watching. Like that. The children, the neighbors, the friends, learning from the way we show up. Together we build something larger than any of us could do alone.